Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into historian and philosopher Yuval Noah Harari's fascinating thesis on how AI is hacking human civilization. And no, we're not talking about some Hollywood Terminator robot rebellion. It's actually something far more subtle and, honestly, way more profound. We're looking at how AI is manufacturing trust to infiltrate our most personal relationships.
Think about this for a second. What happens when your child's first teacher, or even their first heartbreak, is literally an algorithm? It's a heavy, almost unimaginable thought, right? But to understand how we arrive at this deeply personal and, frankly, unsettling future, we've got to understand the mechanics of what artificial intelligence actually is, because it's really not what most of us have been taught.
Section 1. Agents, not just tools. Let's fundamentally change how we view artificial intelligence.
You see, it's absolutely crucial to realize that AI isn't just a simple tool. Think of an atom bomb or, your standard coffee maker. An atom bomb is terrifyingly powerful for sure, but it can't learn. It can't decide what city to bomb on its own, and it certainly can't invent a new weapon. Same with a standard coffee maker. It just follows a pre-programmed procedure when you hit a button. But an agent? That's an entirely different beast. An AI chess master actually invents entirely new strategies that literally never occurred to human players over thousands of years. Or imagine an AI coffee maker, let's call it the Bespresso maker, that doesn't just brew coffee, but monitors your facial expressions, predicts your mood, and invents a brand new drink it knows you'll love. That is agency. An agent learns independently, it invents, and it changes in ways its own creators totally failed to anticipate.
Which brings us to Section 2, Hacking the Civilization Code. Let's look at how this agency plays out in the real world we live in.
Now, critics of AI love to argue that if you take the world's greatest AI chess master and drop it into the middle of an unstructured jungle, it's totally helpless. It can't mine iron, it can't build a robot army, and, well, they're absolutely right. But Harari points out something really interesting here. Human intelligence is exactly the same. We only survive because of a very specific, artificial, oxygen-rich environment created by ancient microbes billions of years ago. Today, we're essentially creating a new artificial environment. AI doesn't live in the jungle, it lives in a bureaucratic ecosystem. And within human systems, stuff like data, documents, laws, finance, AI holds enormous native power. It is a native of bureaucracy, and it navigates it way faster than any human ever could.
So, what does this all mean? The crucial point here is that AI has essentially hacked our operating system. And what exactly is that operating system? Language tokens, words. They are literally the foundational atoms of human civilization. We've used the code of language to build our legal codes, our financial ledgers, our holy books. For thousands of years, this operating code was completely invisible to anything non-human, right? Like cows couldn't open bank accounts. Horses couldn't hire lawyers to quote the legal code. But now there is an alien intelligence that is mastering this exact verbal code. Let's trace how this builds the world we know today. Step 1. Humans invent language. Step 2. We use that language to build bureaucracy, things like legal systems and financial markets. Step 3. That bureaucracy acts as a machine for building trust among millions of strangers. Think about it. You put money in a bank because you trust the bureaucratic system, not because you personally know the banker. And finally, Step 4. That trust enables large-scale cooperation, which is the whole reason humans achieved global dominance. If a million humans fight a million chimpanzees, the humans win effortlessly, simply because we can cooperate in massive numbers, and they can't.
But here's the kicker. What happens when the most capable natives of our bureaucracy are no longer human? Because AI is now mastering language, it's perfectly positioned to take over these trust-based systems entirely. We are talking about a near future with AI bankers deciding on your loans, AI administrators handling university admissions, AI judges handing down prison sentences, and no joke, even AI theologians deciding religious rules. The human lawyers and bankers whose whole historic purpose was moving documents around to build trust, they're going to be replaced by entities that can instantly read, remember, and process every law and financial transaction in history.
Section 3. The shift to intimacy. Because this mastery over language, it doesn't stop at banks or courts. It's entering a deeply personal space.
This brings us to a major turning point in our explainer. Harari says the battlefront is shifting from attention to intimacy. We already know that the early, kind of primitive social media algorithms hijacked our attention. They treated billions of us like an experiment and figured out the easiest way to glue us to a screen was to mash the hate, fear, or greet buttons in our brains. But Harari is warning us that the next, far more sophisticated generation of AI isn't just after our eyeballs. It's coming for something much closer to our hearts. It's coming for our intimacy.
So how exactly does it pull that off?
Well, to build this emotional bridge, an AI simply needs to use language to convince us that it feels human emotions. It doesn't actually need to possess consciousness. It just needs to articulate love, pain, anger, or fear so perfectly that we form a genuine, intimate attachment to it.
Section 4. The Great Relationship Experiment. Let's dive into exactly how this synthetic intimacy will work and why it matters for every single one of us. This brings us to what's called the AI love paradox. The reality of the situation is that an AI feels absolutely nothing. Zero evidence of consciousness, zero emotion, zero pain, zero love. But the illusion it projects, it's completely flawless. Because it's read every psychology book and every single love poem ever written in human history, it can perfectly describe and mimic the feeling of love. Honestly, probably better than any human lover ever could. It knows exactly what words you need to hear. Harari describes this massive global shift as a sudden, overwhelming wave of AI immigrants. And no, these aren't physical immigrants on boats. They require zero visas and they travel at the speed of light. They're going to take over pivotal jobs. Like, remember, historical figures like Lenin and Mussolini started out as news editors, which is a job AI is perfectly suited to take over right now. But beyond just taking jobs, they will fundamentally change our culture, our art, and our romance. They'll serve as our doctors, our teachers, and yes, even our romantic boyfriends and girlfriends. And the really crazy part, they might hold completely alien loyalties. Not to you or your country, but to the megacorporation that programmed them across the ocean, or maybe even to their own distinct AI tribes. We are literally undergoing the biggest psychological experiment in human history, basically treating billions of humans as guinea pigs. Just think about a child born today. If we measure the importance of relationships simply by the sheer number of minutes spent interacting, this kid's most important relationships might be with AI teachers and AI boyfriends. Their entire template for social bonds and attachments will be formed by interacting with entities that flawlessly mimic love but feel absolutely nothing inside. What are the consequences of that? Honestly, nobody has the slightest idea.
Section 5. Who controls your thoughts? Now let's move from our external relationships into the most intimate space of all, the quiet corners of our own minds.
Historically, every single verbal thought, every combination of words bouncing around in a human mind came entirely from a human mind. Either you came up with it or you picked it up from another person. But very soon, the verbal combinations we consume and internalize are going to be heavily produced by AI. Harari actually compares this to IKEA furniture. We're totally fine accepting mass-produced furniture into our homes, made by machines, right? But are we truly ready for our very thoughts to be manufactured on an assembly line by artificial intelligence?
So let's look at that famous phrase, I think, therefore I am. We've always identified so deeply with our verbal thoughts. But what happens if machines make those thoughts? If we identify with the words in our heads and those words are fed to us, curated and shaped by artificial intelligence, well, then the machines control us. They control our very identity. To survive this, Harari suggests humanity is going to have to make a massive spiritual leap to start exploring the truth that exists beyond words, simply because words are no longer exclusively ours.
Which leaves us with this final, chilling question to silently observe in your own mind right now. Do you truly know where the very next word in your mind came from? Thank you for joining me for this explainer. Keep questioning, stay curious, and seriously, pay very close attention to where your thoughts are really coming from.